Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Drive-By Reviews, where today we're looking at the Taurus PT92, a knockoff Beretta. First things first, of course, safety, because a safe gun owner is a future gun owner, right? Empty, remove the mag, and of course you have our empty gun. Now what I love about this gun is it's easy to take down. You just push this button here, and you pull down this lever. Once you do that, you can just slide right off the gun. There you go, right there. And you've got right the frame of the gun off of the slide. And this is just like every other gun, pretty simple. Your guide rod here and your spring, you just push in while holding it so it doesn't get away from you, and you release it. Take the spring off there, guide rod off there. And the barrel, like most, you just move it in, pull it down, pull it back, and now you're free. And then you've got this little piece right here. This guy is pretty easy to get out. You just got to kind of move him sideways and make sure he doesn't catch on this little knob. He'll kind of move out, and you just pull him out to the side. And there you go. One of the easiest guns to disassemble, just like that. Now, as always with these cleanings, I like to start with the barrel. Make sure that that's really cleaned. So you can kind of see it's got some dirt going down there. So we're going to run a patch with some solvent. Using the classic Hops 9. Just run it through here and get it nice and lubricated with the solvent. Alright. And I'm going to brush it. Get the solvent in there. And you're going to brush it free with your brush. Start running it through. Back and forth. Back and forth. Breaking free that grime and dirt and powder. Primer and all the rest. And this is kind of a rinse and repeat cycle, right? You're going to do that. You're going to run another solvent patch through it and continue to do so until you see it's relatively clean there, or completely clean. Alright, so the magic number today was about 4 repetitions. Put my little brass brush through there and repetition with the solvent about 4 times. We got it coming out relatively clean. There we go. Take a look down that barrel and see how nice and clean that is. That's pretty good. Alright, moving on. You've got your guide rod here. Just going to take that, pick it up, run a patch down it, get some solvent on there. If you got any sticky grime, you can use your brush, but typically I find that's not really an issue with this, especially if you're cleaning relatively regularly. Same's true for the barrel. You kind of take a piece here, you just go along all those little nooks and crannies, get that solvent on there and break loose any of that dirt. This may need a little brushing, especially in those little hard to reach places here. So we'll do that in a second. The spring's an interesting piece because you can kind of take your patch and run it up and down the spring here. And some people like to take those pipe cleaners or something you can slip through the middle. I usually find if I just take my nylon brush and run at it, that's usually about right. Or heck, even a toothbrush. Yeah, a little bit. My brush is a little dirty. I might have to clean that up a little bit. Okay. Get that brush in there and that barrel in those sticky spots. Bada bing, bada boom. Poor man's brush right here. Use toothbrush, why not? You got a second use to all your toothbrushes, guys. Remember, you're supposed to replace those every 6 months, aren't you? Nice. Alright, moving on to our little piece that comes out from under the barrel. This one's a little unusually designed as far as cleaning is concerned. But as long as you get your patch really in there, and you get your brush involved, it's going to be relatively easy to clean because there's nothing really deep to access in here. You can kind of take your brush and check it and make sure you're not leaving some grime on that piece either, because you really want to get that clean. He's a pretty significant moving part, and you don't want to leave solvent on there either. You want to wipe that off when we're done here and make sure that you get some lubrication on that, because he does move quite a bit. Moving on to the slide. Alright, now this guy's a little bit more of a beast to clean because you got to do quite a bit of finger work here as far as running your solvent up and down the slide. It gets pretty filthy. You can see that, right? And you also want to take a brush to this. I would say don't do it just by hand. Some people have various versions of doing this. I like using my brush, my patches combined to really kind of tackle this. And don't be afraid to bring that brass in here either. Nice, okay. So my first run of the slide, what I'm really trying to do is just get some solvent in there and all those little teeny places. I don't mind getting my hands all nice and dirty during this process. Some people are a little more finicky. You can wear some gloves and get your brush involved if you want to, but I'm just trying to get some solvent in there before I work at it, which I will in a second. Alright, we got some solvent on there. I'm going to take our brush with a little solvent on it. Kind of get to some of those harder to get places. It's a little more gummy. Make sure we knock loose all that dirt before we come at it with another patch of solvent, and eventually just a clean patch. You know what I like about using some toothbrushes that you can just ruin it, doesn't matter. Right back here where the firing pin hits, this is looking better, it's coming free. Okay, so that's my third repetition coming through with my solvent and brush. You just kind of take a nice clean patch here. You're just going to check and see you got anything left, right? You got anything coming off that gun. Looks like I did a pretty good job getting all that crap off of there, right? Pretty clean. So we're going to call this slide nice and done. Alright, now on the frame, you're going to want to take a look here and do the same beginning process with putting down solvent in those hard to reach places, really getting it down in there. Keep in mind, there's a lot of, this is really close to where the bullet goes off, so you're going to get a lot of grime in here. And you want to get all those hard to reach places. So the first patch, you're just kind of laying down the solvent. Second time, you're going to come in through with the brush and really go at it, trying to work at, get that grime off out of those hard to reach places. You know, and there's a lot of moving parts in here that you're going to want to get a little lubrication on. Never too much, never too little, right? It's just like Goldilocks and her firearm. Sometimes it helps to kind of move those parts around and get in there. It's good first pass, okay? I'm going to take my brush here. I'm trying to work at it in there. Let me take my other nylon brush. And really work some of that solvent around in some of these harder to reach places. Because you're going to come back at it with a clean set of solvent cloth and eventually clean patches to take away all that grime. Make it nice and clean. And even down where the magazine goes, it's nice to work at. And today I'm actually going to clean the magazine. I don't always do that, but it is important to know that your magazines can start to malfunction and wear a little faster if you do not clean them ever. There we go. Alright, that took me probably about 3 passes there. And I'm going to take this same nice clean patch, right? You're going to rub it down there. Make sure it comes up nice and clean as you pass through those portions that you have put solvent on and wiped away and brushed, right? You don't want really any grime coming out of here, these hard to reach places. And that's looking pretty good. Okay, moving on. Okay, so we got most of the gun that works clean besides the magazine. The magazine, it's a little wonky when they made the original factory specs. They put a little, you know, it's a classic push here and pull off the bottom, but they made theirs have a little tip on it, so it's not exactly flush. But all you gotta do is kind of take something to poke and, okay, and once you push it in, you just kind of slide this down, right? And once you've got that catch off, you can kind of just come here on the edges. You're just gonna pull it off. And your hands are a little greasy, so I'm just gonna grab a towel. I'm gonna just pull towards me, just like that, right? We're gonna take this guy off. Watch out, that spring does kick pretty good. Okay, and you can kind of see, and we got a pretty dirty spring there. You knock that piece out, and kind of a grimy top. And you're just thinking in the same order here, right? You're gonna take your solvent patch and work away some of this grime. Feel free to go through the spring. I might lubricate this a little. You know, the thing about oil and lubrication in your gun, you gotta keep in mind, the reason you don't want too much is because lubrication in the wrong spot is just gonna attract filth. So, especially in the magazine where it's sitting right underneath where all those explosions are occurring. You don't necessarily want a ton of grease down there, which is why, you know, you don't want to just jam it full of oil. And since it's basically just a spring mechanism, I'm not too concerned about it wearing out. Oof, this was dirty, my goodness. That was pretty filthy in there. There we go. Just brushing through, brushing through. Alright, let's get our little top piece, the part that pushes all the bullets and holds it. Let's get this guy clean and looking yellow again. Let's get some solvent on there. That worked pretty well. Pretty good. Let's just take one of our cleaner patches here. Let's get some of that excess solvent off. Don't really want to leave solvent on these guys. I'd wipe it off. That's looking pretty good and clean. That's pretty good. That's looking pretty good. That's looking good. Take a look down there. That's looking clean. Way better. Probably should clean it more often, huh? Nice. Okay, moving on. Alright, now here's the important part in putting them back together. Just keep in mind how the magazine works. So you've got this little notch here that pushes on the frame piece. That lets it know when it's out of bullets, right? So that's going to go right where this is. So you're just going to drop it in. Okay. You get it at the end, so it's kind of sitting just like that where it's supposed to be. You're going to take your spring and launch it right in place. Alright, now this here's the tricky part, so pay attention. I like lining up, you line up this top piece with the way it's shaped. You push it all the way down, you get it in there, just barely underneath, then you bring your top piece on. You get it past that nub, and once you do, you're home free. That's the tricky part, is getting it past him. Once you do, you can just kind of slide it back till it snaps, and then you're golden. And there we go, we got our magazine back together. Once you get that part together, it's time to lubricate, so here we go. Alright, so I like to start large and go small. So first off, we're just going to go with big wipes down the pieces that need lubrication. We don't have to be too careful of. So the guide rod, the spring, it's got this oiled up Remington oil rag, the barrel, okay, moving part underneath the barrel, okay, the slide a little trickier, so I'm just going to put a teeny bit down the slide here. It's right where it rides on the frame. A couple drops just right along there. Let's wipe it away. Make sure there's no excess. Alright, wipe it away, wipe it away. Some moving part, or a lot of friction down in here, so just a teeny bit. Just gonna put a dab of oil in there. I'm gonna wipe it away. Just get a thin layer down in there. Good stuff. Okay. On the frame itself, the opposite side where the slide is, just put a dab right along where that friction goes. Just a dab and wipe it away. Just dab and dab. There you go. Wipe it away. Put some down here in the safety and decocker mechanism, which by the way is one of the beautiful upgrades that Taurus did to the Beretta. I like it a lot, along with ambidextrous safety and decocker. That's just genius. Okay. Wipe some of this oil away. There we go, that's done. The barrel itself, you're definitely going to want to take a swab, put some oil on it, and run it down the barrel. You're going to run it right down here. Get that nice and lubricated. There we go. Alright, and there we go. We got oil on the moving parts of the gun. We're going to put it together, wipe it clean from any excess oil that's dribbling, if so be the case. Alright, first things first, you're going to take your barrel here, and this little component that goes underneath, you're just going to edge it back in the way you took it out. Right, just like so. Oop. You're just kind of pushing it in, making sure this is out of your way. Alright? put our guide rod in our spring, put our barrel back into our slide. So you just have it like this, where the barrel's facing forward. You're going to slide it in there, up and back. So it's sitting nice and snug back. Don't let it slide forward, because you're going to take this guide rod, stick it right there in the front where the spring goes, right? You're going to push ever so carefully till you get it right up on that latch right there. Okay? Just like when we took it off. You're just going to push it up until it catches. Your slide is together. Now watch this. Take your slide, just put it on the frame, you pull it back, flick that up, there it is. It's on. It's easy as taking it off, right? That's off, push it back, that's on. Love that mechanism. Then put that in there, right? Hang on, let's run it for good measure. Very nice. Okay. There you have it. Fantastic. And now she's beautiful, ready to run, store, whatever, use again, without wearing too quickly.